There is a specific number that seems to act as a mathematical blueprint for the physical universe, 1.618. We call it the golden ratio, or phi. You can see it dictating the tight logarithmic spiral of galaxies in deep space. You can find that exact same proportion growing right here on Earth. If you look at the cross-section of a nautilus shell, the expansion of each individual chamber correlates directly to that 1.618 ratio. For thousands of years, humans have tried to connect this kind of mathematical order to language. Classical civilizations used systems like the Abjad. This is a method where specific numeric values are assigned to letters, effectively turning words and sentences into mathematical equations. Recently, a massive volume of literature and viral media has claimed that this universal ratio of 1.618 is explicitly coded into the geography, architecture, and holy texts of the city of Mecca. We are going to look at the math to see if this is evidence of intentional design or a statistical illusion. The argument for a mathematical miracle in Mecca rests on three specific pillars. Proponents claim that the city's coordinates on Earth, the physical dimensions of the Kaaba, and the exact letter count of the Quranic verses describing it all yield a result of 1.618. To audit these claims, we have to look past theology. We will rely strictly on raw geographic data, historical architectural records, and geometric precision. Because the human brain is highly prone to finding patterns where none exist, we have to separate pure, undeniable mathematics from creative accounting. Measuring from the North Pole to Mecca and Mecca to the South Pole, the ratio is claimed to equal 1.618. But mapping exact coordinates reveals a 20-kilometer gap between the golden ratio latitude at 21.246 degrees north and Mecca at 21.422 degrees north. A secondary claim places Mecca on the golden ratio of Earth's longitude, using a Mercator map. But longitude lacks fixed starting points. Because the prime meridian is arbitrary, shifting the edges of a flat map moves the 1.618 ratio point right along with it. The latitude of Mecca is remarkably close to the golden ratio, but a 20-kilometer variance and the flexible nature of map projections mean the geographic alignment is an approximation, not a mathematical absolute. Architectural measurements of the Kaaba show a 21.2-meter length and a 13.1-meter width, yielding a perfect 1.618 ratio. However, getting exactly 13.1 meters requires including the Hatim, a low semicircular wall outside the main structure. Measuring only the primary building breaks the ratio. Historically, the Kaaba has not always maintained this exact shape. Over the centuries, it has been damaged by floods and fires, and completely rebuilt and altered in size by different rulers. The golden ratio we see in the Kaaba today applies to a very specific, historically reconstructed footprint, rather than an eternal, unchanging geometric form. The final pillar of the claim involves the text of the Quran itself. In verse 396, there is a passage referencing the city. Proponents point out that this specific verse contains exactly 47 letters. If you take those 47 letters and divide them by 1.618, the result is exactly 29. Counting 29 letters into the verse lands directly on Baka, an ancient name for Mecca. But achieving a 47-letter count requires selective grammar. Depending on whether you count shaddas, marks for doubled consonants, or silent letters, the character count shifts, breaking the mathematical alignment. The textual alignment is a fascinating mathematical quirk, but it only functions if you manually configure the grammatical rules to yield the exact number you are looking for. In logic, there is a concept called the Texas Sharpshooter Fallacy. It describes a person firing random shots into the side of a barn, and then walking up and painting a bullseye around the tightest cluster of bullet holes to look like an expert marksman. When auditing these claims, we see a similar methodology. Researchers start with the desired answer, 1.618, and sift through massive volumes of geographic coordinates, architectural variants, and linguistic counting systems until they isolate the data points that fit. If you apply this exact same flexible methodology to enough raw data, you can find the golden ratio hidden in entirely random secular texts or arbitrary coordinates across the globe. These alignments usually tell us less about divine engineering and more about the human brain's hardwired ability to construct order from chaos. The geography of Mecca is undeniably close to phi, and the textual math presents a striking coincidence. Yet the presence of a 20-kilometer variance, a shifting architectural history, and highly selective linguistic rules prevent the equation from being mathematically perfect. We are left with a question of interpretation. Are these near-perfect alignments a subtle signature woven into the fabric of reality, or simply an illusion born from our desire to find universal perfection? The math has been laid bare. How you interpret the results is entirely up to you.